That was an awesome conversation we had prior to the live.
Or the, yeah.
Yeah,
It's always the best conversations are before live. You should have like one of these little
secret mics.
microphones just on the whole time, so that way you catch all those amazing pre-live conversations.
That's right. Um, so one of the cool things that we talked about was this question: why am I special? What's my number one unique quality?
Tough question.
Is this a tough question?
I think so.
Why is
It's
it
a
a
tough question because unless you've really thought about it, it's scary. Because what happens if you don't have an answer?
right?
Then you're not special and unique, and that's depressing.
Could be.
Could be again if you're older, mature, able to use it as a tool, then that's great. But if you're not, so you got to be careful who you ask that question to. It's like you got to put a little warning.
Right. Well, the only person I really ask that question to is myself, and I ask it like I'm starting to ask it every day. Today's the first day, I guess, of me committing to asking that question every day.
So the question is, does the answer change?
Yes, it changes every day.
But then you're not unique.
That's what makes me unique.
And
Right?
it constantly changes.
That I'm constantly asking the question, and that answer evolves. It gets better and better every day.
It's like reflecting, self-reflection,
It's a self reflection, but it's also like a call.
which promotes self-growth.
Yeah, it's a call to make the every day the best that I can do and improve. Like yesterday's old news.
Right.
Today's a new day. What makes me special today?
Right.
If you just add the word today to that question.
Right, because unique can be like an overarching, like
Yeah.
in general, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? It
Right.
can be a very general thing, like I'm really good at basketball. I've always been good at basketball. That's my thing. Kids will that'll be like a typical kid answer.
Right.
I'm the fastest in my class.
Yeah.
And then you get a little older and you get to high school and you find out like, you're not the fastest. Then you're not unique anymore. You're not special. So
Right.
it needs to be like you're saying. It has to be. It probably is more like a day-to-day special.
Yeah.
Like today's special. When you go to a
Yeah.
restaurant, can you imagine
Off the menu.
Can you imagine the special is the same all year round? I don't think you're gonna go back to that restaurant. What's today's special? It means same
Right.
as yesterday. What makes your restaurant unique? I don't know. We're the same as yesterday. That's
Yeah.
unique. But sometimes that's good too. Stability is also a good thing.
Correct.
So
To keep
it's-
the stability, keep what works going, but always ask, how can I improve?
Right.
And what's cool about this question is I got that question. The first person that asked me that question was you. You asked me that question. And I've been like sitting on that question for like 7 months. Yeah.
7 months. Wow,
7 months. I've been sitting on that question. You said like just drop me a voice note of the answer. So better than the voice note, we're gonna go live and share it with you guys. Yeah.
This is gonna be a heavy answer.
I don't think so.
No, okay, keep it simple.
No, it's not so. It's not so difficult.
Right.
If you're doing it constantly. So, I was talking to Rachel, my colleague, earlier today, asking the same question. That was the topic of the podcast. Was what makes me unique and special. So you came with different things, different answers. For me, I answered it was personal because it's personal. I had to take that quantum leap of faith from going with renter to buyer, not knowing exactly how it's going to work out. Did it anyways, had faith, and I want people to experience that process, to experience that like that paradigm shift from going to from being dependent on someone else to taking charge of your life, taking charge of your destiny, having faith in Hashem, and just going for it.
Right.
And then you start to think differently. You start to think, have more grander ambitions and objectives. Your objectives change once you become a homeowner. And the same thing is when you become an investor.
Right.
That's the next step. your whole mindset and objectives change when you're becoming an investor. Um, but I think so. That was my answer an hour ago.
Oh, wow. It's not just by the day, it's changing
Right.
by the hour, oh boy.
But because I was talking about that with Rachel.
So you can say your uniqueness is that you're evolving all the time,
Correct.
constantly evolving.
Exactly. That is the unique. That's the uniqueness.
Oh, did I just hit on your
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
There you go.
Yeah, and you picked it up.
Right. Constantly evolving.
Constantly evolving,
Shifting.
constantly improving, constantly asking myself the right questions. And
That's good.
and the answer is usually within the question. It answers itself.
Right.
Or being able to provide an answer or the answer. There's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
It's
That's the
just
challenge with business is there is no, it's like, do I invest, do I not invest? Nobody can actually give you a definite answer. Like, yes, this is a 100%, this is gonna succeed, this project.
No.
Or tell you, no, 100% is gonna fail. There's no way for anyone to do that. Now, obviously, you can say, well, this has a better chance, and you'll make more money on this deal than you make on that deal. You know, people can advise you, but nobody can.
At the end of the day, you have to take a leap of faith.
It's always that leap.
Yeah.
I find that every single closing that I have, whether I'm buying or I'm selling, Hashem always makes me down.
Yeah.
Always. There's something last minute. I've had crazy, thank God I have a very good lawyer. And he already knows. As soon as I give him a deal, he knows already. He goes, okay, we're gonna set everything up. We're gonna do everything right. We're gonna have everything ready to go. Week in advance, 3 days in advance. He goes, but I know. They have closing. Something's gonna happen. And I've had crazy stories. And it's Hashem saying to me, are you sure you know that this is coming from me? This is nothing to do with you.
Right.
So I acknowledge and I say, yes, everything's from Hashem.
Yeah. You know what's cool? What if we just started with that statement instead of, starting the day saying, Hashem, it's all in your control. It's not my doing it all. I'll let you worry about the blessings.
Well, that's technically, you wake up in the morning, the first thing you say is
right.
Acknowledgement.
But do we really mean it?
Hopefully.
That's the question. So the proof of that is in our actions. Like a lot of times we'll try to come up with this solution, that solution, get all invested in trying to change the outcome. But the outcome is not our job.
Right.
The outcome is Hashem's job. Yes,
right,
we
but
do all
until
we
the
can.
outcome happens.
We do all
right.
we do all we can.
You try to change it because you don't know. Meaning, how are you to decide whether this is what Hashem wants or not? You don't know.
Let him decide.
Right, but then you still have to go for the objective that you want, that you think is the best. And then at the end of the day, whatever happens, obviously.
Right.
But up until that point, meaning up until the point of no return,
right.
You still have to try to make the changes. If let's say things are going downwind, you can't just stop and say, well, if that's the direction, then I guess it's meant to be. No, until you hit the wall,
right.
You got to still try to change the trajectory of whatever's going on. Now,
Correct.
if it hits the wall, it means that, that it was meant to hit the wall.
Right. Well, also, that's why language is important, I think. You can choose the significance of the language in your vocabulary. Like, take no, for example. What does that mean to you if you're hit with a no?
It depends.
Right.
If it's a police officer telling me no, put my hands up and be like, okay, I got it. I will stop.
Right, but generally, if you're faced with an obstacle.
Well, there's a difference between an obstacle and a no. Because an obstacle is something you can jump over. A no is like a wall. So if you get to the place of no, if you've been trying to, let's say, get a property and the owner has been like, I don't know, I'm thinking about it, and you push.
You say, tell me yes or no.
And then you get to the point where after a couple of months and you say to them, okay, are you, let's negotiate the amount. They want this amount, you want this amount. And they finally turn around and they say, no, I'm not going to go lower than this. This is my bottom line. All right. do I still keep on pushing, or
Right.
do I move on to the next? So in
Right.
those situations where I've been working it and working it and working it, and then at some point I have to be like, okay,
Okay.
it's the door's always open, meaning, hey,
Right.
this is where I'm at. If you ever get to that place, let me know, and part ways, and
That's
then I'll
good.
move on to
I like that.
to something else.
I like that. So no, it's not emotional.
Well, that's also very important to. I think the hardest thing with business is the emotion part and
Okay.
the stress. So if you look at things as just business, then it does take away some of the humanistic aspect of it, which is difficult when you deal with people you know. You know,
Right.
so when it's business and it's somebody you know, and then the deal goes sour on their end,
Right.
and you're on the receiving end,
Right.
but it's somebody you know, it's very hard to just say, hey, I like you, I respect you, you're a friend of mine, you're
Yeah.
somebody I know from the community, whatever it is, but tough luck, it's business. It's harder to do that than with somebody you don't know. And that's why to completely take emotion out of business is, I think, very challenging.
Well, it's not necessary,
No, it's not.
but
Sometimes you need to.
sometimes it is necessary.
Right.
So, but I think we can like sort of pick and choose when it's just business, when to be emotionally invested. If it's like about the outcome, like the deal goes through or not, maybe it's better to just say, hey, it's just business. If we get a business elsewhere. If it was no for a reason,
Right.
we'll just, we'll get it's not meant to be. We'll get it from somewhere else. But if it's something positive, where we can add positive emotions to help sweeten the process of the deal, that's something
Right.
that could be an asset.
Right. So for me, it works both ways because as a therapist, my business as a therapist is emotion.
Right.
It's very hard to disconnect emotion from your business, and so a lot of times to my detriment, I have been in situations where I've lost a lot because of emotions, because I allow,
Yeah.
I feel bad, or I'm like, I understand, and instead of just being not cold, but just being this is business,
Right.
and if I would have met you in a different circumstance, maybe I would have helped you out, but in a business situation, I'm not in the business of charity, so no, I have to be able to say no, and I have a hard time with that, which is to my detriment. But again, to the positive is there are situations where people will only deal with me because they know that that it's coming from a good place,
Right.
and that I am trying to do the best for them. Yes, obviously
Okay,
I'm
good.
invested, and I'm going to make a return on this, but at the same time, I'm going to try and help them as best as I can. So it works both ways, but sometimes emotion is good, and sometimes it's detrimental.
Kind of interesting, because like imagine if we could just make healthy decisions when to be emotional, when not. Like outcome, not emotional. If it's out of our hands, God, whatever. If it goes through, doesn't go through, whatever. Just business,
But the process.
right? But the process, that's where we can shine by bringing
Or
our
get
positive.
very stressed, which is part of the
Well,
issue.
talk
I
to me
think,
about the stress. What's stress?
Right. What is stress? Stress is when you're trying to get a certain outcome and
Right.
it hasn't worked out yet. So you're still you haven't hit the wall yet, and you're about 5 feet before the wall, and you're still trying to change the outcome. And there's been times when the outcome has been changed.
Right.
So therefore, it's a very stressful
Situation.
Yeah, so when you're coming to a closing and you're expecting to have funding, and suddenly the investor last minute says, I can't wire the money, it's locked up, and they'll take another 2 days, but 2 days I lose the deal. And you've already invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, so that moment is very stressful.
Okay.
So yes, obviously, you believe whatever the outcome is God sent, this,
Right.
that, but you
then you
still
have
have 6 hours left to the day before the wire has to go through, and now you start running through every single person on your investor list to see
Right.
who can I get to come in with the funds that I'm now missing, and who can hold me up for the next 2 days. So I would say that would be categorized as stressful. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people who can be in a situation like that and just be very like, yeah, whatever.
Doesn't have to be whatever. I think like it could be instead of it could be like what can I do? And if I was faced with that situation, what can I do to improve the situation?
Right, but
I'll
it
make
is
this-
a stressful, because there's a lot hanging on this. When you have hundreds of thousands of dollars that could potentially be lost, that you don't have, because it's
Right.
other people's money you borrowed and some of it's your own, and
In the
now,
deal.
yeah, I mean, you put money in, you put
So
a
if you
deposit
didn't-
down, if you don't
Yeah.
close, you lose your deposit. Your deposit
Right.
is $150,000, and half of that is friends who came in on the deal with you,
Right.
and it's like, oh my god, so now I'm up $150,000 because this.
Sure, but like, did those thoughts and does that stress help you?
Well, stress
it-
is like the fight or flight. There is
Right.
that certain amount of endorphins that like
The fight or
that
flight
yeah
gives
the
you.
fight or flight gets into you, and you
Ah.
just, because otherwise you let a deal like that just go. Meaning, if you don't have this, if you get into
Well, what's the worst case scenario in that?
you lose all your money.
And
You owe a lot of people money, and now you're gonna have to make the next deal 10 times better and find a lot more deals, and now it becomes even more stressful because now you have 3 people who are on your back. I need my money back. We lent you $75,000. We didn't lend
or
it to you.
deposit?
Yeah, it's a deposit, and
Okay.
now we lost the deposit. How are we getting that money back? And
Alright.
you don't have assets to give them, or you may have, and now suddenly you have to liquidate your assets, which you weren't planning on,
Right.
and that takes months, and then you're involved in liquidating assets versus acquiring new assets, and it just becomes a headache. And then you have your credit card bills that are coming up in 3 days.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Life still continues, just because
Yeah.
it's not like if you are an employee and a deal goes bad, and you say, oh, whatever,
okay,
fine,
yeah. But we're
next
not-
deal.
we're not employees.
when you're self-employed,
Yeah.
and this is your bread and butter, and
Buck
now you
stops
have
by you.
right, and now you have bills to pay, you get your mortgage to pay, you have your food bills, and you get your this and your school bills and tuition and car maintenance and this and gas, and now suddenly you're $150,000 out.
All right. What are you gonna do?
So
That's kind of what's cool about getting a mortgage, because you're in that position where you have to find a solution. You have that mortgage to pay, come what may, that needs to get paid.
Right.
And if you're having trouble with the income 1 month, you'll find a way to pay that mortgage.
right, but if that continues for 2-3 months,
Yeah.
that's
You can.
Suddenly
You
you're
have
in
to
the
be
hole.
ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
so it
But
is
you're
stressful.
forced to.
So exactly,
to-
but if
to
you're
think
put up a
ahead.
wall now, and suddenly you're 2 days before your mortgage is due, and it's now the third month you've been borrowing off of your credit card, and now it's been 90 days because
Yeah.
now your credit card bill is finally maturing,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and you can't open up another credit card because your credit limit is maxed.
And you're paying crazy interest.
Right, and then you take a deep breath and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, do I not pay? And then go into foreclosure and bankruptcy, and this, like, those thoughts do hit, and those are very stressful thoughts.
Those are stressful thoughts.
Yeah, so in those situations, I mean, the stress forces you to either do something or
Yes.
give up.
Okay, well, the first option is better.
But some people can't do it.
Everyone can do it.
Everyone can, not everyone
Yeah,
does.
if they
because don't-
if they
it's
do
very-
or not, that's up to them.
It's very difficult because there are millions of people going
Yeah.
to bankruptcy. I mean, it's part of Trump went
Right.
bankrupt.
4 times, right?
Yeah, that was his best business
Yeah.
strategy right there. The good thing about bankruptcy is, though, it gives you a breather. It puts all
Right.
your
Sometimes
loans-
you need it.
sometimes you need it. You need
Yeah.
to just catch your breath. But
It's not there as a cop out. It's there
Right.
to.
problem is when you
it's
owe
like a reset.
individual private people money, bankruptcy doesn't work.
Doesn't help, right?
And especially if it's people who are, let's say, family or friends,
Yeah.
bankruptcy is going to make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Because, so it's a lose-lose. I don't know how we got to this part of the conversation.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm saying, but it's like this is more the depressing side of things.
Right. Look, I've faced these challenges before, and I chose the first option. Like failure and giving up is never an option. Success is the only option, and you just find ways. You have faith, and also find ways to make it, to overcome the challenges.
Well, yeah, no, but it's
If you think
you
of
need
like
to be strong to do that. You need to be very
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
Everybody has that drive after a while, and then what happens if you're not self-employed? If you're just working somewhere and you make a couple dollars and then you saved and then you invested somewhere, and the investment blew up in your face,
Sure.
and now you're still on your stride, and now you're
Sure.
you're in the same salary bracket you were, a year ago.
Sure.
Now plus you're down the hole of
Yeah.
$50,000.
Sure. Get creative. Get resourceful.
Right.
Yeah. Or even if you have a 9 to 5 job, you still have nights. You still have weekends. You still have
So
your
people
lunch.
do that.
You have the 10 minutes in between this.
Yes, I know a guy who's a teacher.
Yeah.
Start selling watches.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a lack of money in this world or lack of
Oh, there
resources.
definitely isn't. It's just tapping into it.
Yeah, it's just making it clearly.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of times just not getting in God's way. Just let Him do that. We cover it up. We have self-doubt. We have negativity, negative feelings about ourselves, and
that's where the question comes in.
Well,
you got to keep on asking yourself.
yeah. So I think that helps. That could help. If at first you get a negative answer, you can ask the question again.
Right.
And again
Understand
until you get
a
a different way until you get a positive answer.
Or start with, I think also people don't realize that what makes somebody unique and special doesn't have to be what some people think of, like, a superstar or a hero.
No.
Or you don't have to be
It could be
the
a
best,
little tiny thing.
because people think
Yeah.
what makes me unique means I have to be the best
No.
at something.
You don't.
And that's not, because you have 7 billion people in the world now.
Yeah.
If there's just a handful of people who are the best.
Right.
There is no, there is one Olympic medalist. There's one
Yeah.
gold medalist for each thing, and you're not
Right.
there.
And that's fine.
Right. But that doesn't mean that you're not unique and you're not
Correct.
special. So
Correct.
being unique and special doesn't have to be
No
people. I
more.
think
Right.
I think people will confuse unique and special to I'm the best at this.
Right. Well, that's why the question is, what is my number one unique quality? So you have a lot of qualities. Just
What's
right.
your best? Meaning, what's your gold medal?
Yeah. What's yours? Yeah. Exactly. Not what the world's is.
Right.
Not what other people
What's your
look
gold
at.
medal?
What's your goal?
For somebody who
Yeah.
who can't walk, taking a step is their gold medal.
Correct.
That's their I achieved. Somebody who is
I wonder what
can't
my
get up on time
Right.
in the morning and gets up finally when the alarm rings at
Gold.
6:30.
Yeah.
I picked gold today.
Yeah.
I'm the gold medalist. What makes you unique and special today? I woke up at 6:30. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
snooze.
Yeah. Gold. Yeah.
I reached gold. People should have. There's this guy in my show. It's pretty funny. He has these little cups, like these little plastic gold cups,
Yeah.
like metal cups, and he just randomly gives them out during davening.
Oh,
Like he'll just you walk by you and you're davening, you're giving a little shake, you look like you're focusing on it.
Yeah.
There's your medal. There's your card. So
what is it?
it's a little one of those little cups. Those
Like
medals.
a disposable?
Not a cup. It looks like a medal. It's got the two little handles. And
That's
small.
so cool. Like the champion.
Yeah, you're you're this. So
That is so
everyone
cool.
has to have their little their Olympic
their
medal
gold,
star
yes.
that they give themselves. And today, did you get gold, silver, or bronze?
Right.
Or did you not even make it on the stadium,
Right.
on the podium? So
That's cool. That's a good way to look at it.
yeah, I think you can structure. If you structure your day, it's like, okay, where's my gold medal for today?
Yeah.
What was my gold medal moment?
And you're not restricted to one gold.
Yeah, you can get silver too.
But
Different categories. Right?
Can you get multiple
I don't know.
golds?
Each person has to decide that for themselves.
All
We
right.
have fun. We can start like a whole movement of
Gold,
people
yeah.
of personal Olympics.
Yeah.
Daily personal
Yes.
Olympics, and every day, at the end of the
I'll be
day,
down for that.
every day you give yourself your medal.
Yeah.
And the truth is who's best to judge you than yourself? Nobody else
Right.
can judge you.
It's true.
No one knows your intentions. No one knows your struggles.
Yeah.
So if you have a struggle,
Yeah.
let's say you have
Yours is the only thing that matters, anyways.
right. Let's say you have an addiction to whatever it might be, and today you didn't cave into your addiction.
Right. Gold.
Get yourself a gold.
Yeah.
Today you achieved gold. Now, if you gave it a little bit, today's silver. Each person has their
I see.
thing, and you kind of I think that's a good model. We should coin it and package it and
Yes.
TM. That's it. Trademark it and put it on write a book.
Yeah.
Travel around the country. Look at that. We're ready. We're gonna make a movie out of it too.
Oh, yeah.
Sell the movie rights to this new model of therapy, personal Olympics.
Personal Olympics.
Personal
I like
Olympics,
it.
you be the judge.
Yeah, I like it. That's kind of that's like how my day is to marathon.
Yeah, well, I think everyone says marathon.
Yeah,
When
but
you
look,
you're running.
right. But I like to challenge myself to do better every day, to do to improve.
Hey, you have to have your base where you start from,
And
and
what's
you
the
have to
goal?
be able to
Yeah,
look and say, okay, did I do better today?
right.
And that's what says that, yeah, every day. But Sonic is, a righteous person is not somebody who's satisfied with yesterday's accomplishments.
Correct.
It always
Old news yesterday.
right. You got to always take one step better. Yesterday you were silver.
Yeah.
Today you get to go. And now you could be
Yeah.
bronze today. I mean, it will happen.
All right.
You'll
You
fall
can
back.
have a
You may not
bronze
even
day.
make it on the podium.
Sure.
Today was just an awful day.
But
I
that's
got no
okay.
medals today.
That's
All right,
okay.
Got tomorrow.
Yeah, but tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, every medalist is one who
Didn't start with a gold.
nothing started.
Nobody starts at
All these self-made, millionaires,
Yeah.
billionaires failed 30,000
Yeah.
times before they hit the
Yeah.
winning product. So
Yeah.
you never know what's winning product.
Well, every failure is like a stepping stone.
Right.
And not just that. It's not like it. That's how I built my character. That's how I built my grit, my resilience
Right.
is through my failures.
Right. Well, resilience is a very powerful thing. It
Yeah.
starts off as a kid, as children.
Yeah.
Children naturally are pretty resilient. It's
Yeah.
naturally inborn in them. They fall down. You ever seen a kid fall down? Like,
And just
get
get
up.
back up. Yeah.
If I fall down now, like those kids fall down. I don't know
Yeah,
how
right,
fast
right.
I'm getting back up. I'll be like,
That part of
I'm down,
Yeah.
man down, man down. I'm out.
but that part of being a kid, that just get right back up. That is something that
That's
we need to
yourself
keep
up. Yeah.
retain. We need to
Yes.
retain that
Well,
because
society, the problem is society takes that away.
no, it doesn't.
To an extent,
Does
I think
it?
society celebrates.
Because are we limited by what society thinks?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
And I just think that it's a big challenge in today's society because of social media.
Right.
That it's very difficult to behave and act in those ways because people are so influenced by social media and what they
Right.
see
And how
and
other
how
people,
other people are
judging them. Right.
not just judging them, but people are putting on their
Right.
fake world and their fake
Right.
life, and suddenly you judge yourself by those standards, and
Right.
I can't be that perfect mom or dad. I can't be that
Mhm.
look at that person on Instagram and on
Right.
Twitter. Oh my God, look at that! They come home and the
Right.
kid's food is already and the house is clean and no cleaning lady and she works a 9 to 5 job. Blah, 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 blah. You don't realize behind the scene this person has a miserable life. Or they may have a great life and they just
Yeah.
happen to be a superstar when it comes to that. But not everybody is that, and it's not fair to judge yourself. But that's why you have to be
By
your
other
own-
people's standards.
Yeah, that's why you have to have your own Olympics.
You have your own standards, your own Olympics.
My Olympics is special Olympics. That's my standards.
I like that. What makes me special?
I got my own special Olympics. I'm a winner every day at my
Yes,
Special Olympics.
That's right.
I can swim. Yeah. It's like
That's
throw something, you take anybody, not even a Michael Phelps, and you just put them in the Special Olympics swimming edition,
Right.
you're going to be a winner. So
Yeah.
but do you feel good about yourself? So that's why you have to be your own judge, because to the world you can put on a show and say, oh my gosh, look at me, I'm so this, I'm so that.
Right.
But only you know yourself inside. Only you
True.
can be honest with yourself. And the
Yeah.
people,
And the more you're honest with yourself,
Right.
the more constructive you can be.
but also fooling yourself sometimes is helpful.
Is it?
Sometimes.
How?
Meaning if you tell yourself things are good when they're not, and you convince yourself that things are good even when they're not, the mind believes. Like for the negative, it also believes for the positive.
I struggled with that for quite a while. With like, why is this happening to me? Why am I getting all this bad luck? But I think yesterday I may have overcome some of that a little bit. That there is no bad. Okay, bad is not in the picture. Whatever happens is good. It's not happening to me. It's happening for me.
Right.
To teach me something.
As long as it doesn't hurt.
What?
As long as it doesn't hurt.
All right.
Too much.
We can endure a little pain.
Little things, not
Yeah,
too much.
not too much.
Just make sure I have enough.
Because
to
we're
pay
men.
my-
We're not women.
Just
after
make
all.
sure I have enough to pay my bills.
Right,
And, I
yeah.
don't have to cry from the pain.
Yeah, I felt that pain for many years.
Challenge a lot of people go through.
Yeah,
It's a tough one.
yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah.
yeah, so that's interesting. So it's an evolving
That's the key. That it's
Journey,
evolving the
right.
journey. It's not the destination. It's the journey.
right. But getting back to the whole, when you speak to a realtor,
Yeah,
you call them up and say, hey, I want to find out more about what's unique about your area or whatever it is. Yes, you are, having that person join you on your journey or their journey.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there is there is an objective. There's always like meaning.
I don't think so.
Because
I don't think so,
would you just
because-
call them randomly? You're not calling a doctor and asking them, hey, tell me about your profession. I want you to come onto my podcast. You're calling the realtor. Real estate broker. You're not spending hours and hours and hours.
It's not just realtors on my podcast. It's not just realtors that I reach out to. I reach out to my neighbors. I reach out to, people that I see working hard and say, hey, would you like to get a house? Anybody.
Right, but you're asking them, would you like to get a house? Meaning there is that objective there, and that's fine. I don't see,
Right.
but it's not a problem. I don't see that's a problem.
My objective is to help people with home ownership.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what my job is.
Right.
To help them facilitate, give them tools to
Right.
buy so they can buy a house,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever it takes to get there, you can do it.
Right. I'm there with you.
Yeah. Come along for the journey. That's all you got to do. To show up
Unless
and
your
come along.
income doesn't work, then there's nothing you can do.
Well, people have gotten new incomes. They've upped it. They've said, my income doesn't work. I can't get a mortgage with my income. Let me write out my resume, send it out, get new jobs,
Right.
start a business, do whatever I need to do. Now I can get it.
Right.
That's what I had to do.
Right.
My
Up
income
your
was not
game.
going to cut it. I had to up it.
No,
That's why I'm a mortgage broker and not just a credit guy anymore.
Right.
The credit card serves me good as a mortgage broker with my background,
Right.
but that's why I became a mortgage broker because I had to. Now that I bought a house, I have a mortgage now that I have to pay.
What it entails.
Stop being on the sidelines, on the peripheral, get into the heart of it, get your license. I got my license in record. In 1 month I had my license. I studied like crazy, did practice tests and learned everything I needed to do. Within 1 month I had my license. I didn't even try to make calls during that period, didn't try anything, just license,
Right.
got my license. Then I was in the heart, and then we figured out the way.
Great.
Yeah. I think that attitude is a good thing to have. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, the objective is important because you know the destination.
Right.
Okay?
And how you get there can be stressful or stressless.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the journey.
Yeah.
And that's the part that constantly evolves, constantly changes, constantly gets better and better.
Right.
Is the journey to the destination. And I think the more people I help, the more deals I do, and the more different avenues I have to try, and the more I get improved on the journey.
Absolutely.
Everyone is a beautiful journey. I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. It's a good business to be in when you can say to someone, yes, here, we work this out.
I like being a yes man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you that mortgage. We're gonna make it work.
Yeah.
Even if you have to pay 10% interest. No, I'm just sorry, your credit doesn't allow it. What your credit is 320?
No,
Then
but
because of your
that-
background, you're gonna have to build a credit.
so the current situation is never the end point.
Right.
Like we assess what's the current situation. Okay, your credit score is 580 or 570.
Let's see what it takes.
Let's see what it takes to get you there.
Right.
And we get there.
The only
It's
challenge is
happening right
what
now.
happens if they have a closing coming up. Now they've already gone into a contract and then
But you know what? That
That'll become a
I'm
little
dealing with
stressful.
this. I'm dealing with this situation right now. It's the exact situation. He went into. He's like, should I go into contract? Should I put a deposit down?
Right.
And I said, go for it.
Right.
We'll make it work. And he did. Same day, half an hour later, he calls me back. In fact, I was under contract for that property, and I said, if you go into contract now and put a deposit, I'll give it to you. And he did it. Went into contract, still not knowing how he's gonna get approved, but I didn't have a doubt.
Oh, he wasn't pre-approved?
He was.
It was
He was
pre-approved,
pre-approved based on the potential of his score.
Right, right.
Because I knew what this score can get if you pay down balances,
Right.
and we did a whole simulation. And we did. He just got it. He got yesterday. He got approved already for 15% down. He couldn't afford 15% down, but at least he got approved. We got it. We got
Right.
the emotions, and then we had to tackle the next thing: how to get it to 5% down. We did what it took, improvements and this and that, and now yesterday we got the approval from Franny, 5% down, 95% LTV.
And how much is, not how much, when is the closing?
We're expecting to see today.
No.
Yeah,
And you just
that
got
was the
approved.
last condition.
And you got approved today?
What?
You were just approved today?
No,
or
it
you-
was approved before, but at 85% LTV.
So now you got to.
But at least we got it approved, we got it in the thing, and then we figured out how
Yeah,
to do the next
Bump
thing.
it up.
Yeah.
That's good. What's the interest rates now? 6.2? Or you bumped it up?
It all depends on the credit. There's
Oh,
not,
that's it.
and the bank and the rates, and there's so many variables. It's around the sixes. There are other products that you can get in eights.
Right.
You know, if you don't qualify for that. But the
Right.
point is, you can get it.
There's always a way to get it.
There's always a way to get it done, and the rate is, I think, is not very relevant because you're not married to the rate. You're married to the purchase price.
Right.
Okay, the rates change all the time, and you can
You can
improve
refine
that.
it,
As long as you
right,
can make
change
it
it.
work now with the current rate and you lock it in,
Right.
do it. Okay, and because when the rates go down, everyone's going to want to buy then,
Right.
and the purchase price is going to go up like crazy,
Right.
like it happened in COVID. You're not in an advantageous position.
Right.
If you buy now while the rates are up and all the chickens are there waiting for the rate to go down, you're at the advantage.
Right.
And you're just still building equity all the time while everyone else is waiting for the rates to go down. When the rates do go down, you refinance, double down, and whatever. You're in an advantageous position. So you got to think beyond the rates.
Bigger picture.
Yeah. But still take into accountability,
Right.
you know, based on the current rate, can I make it work now when the rates are high? The rates are not crazy high right now. They're normal. If you look at the 10-year history, between 4% and 6%.
Right. Yeah, it's just a little high.
It's a little high, but it's not
but
abnormally
not-
high.
Right.
It's not like 18% what it used to be.
Back in Reagan.
Yeah.
18, 20.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Alright.
Yeah. So what I learned from this conversation was the personal Olympics. That's what I love the most.
And I'm joining the special.
Yeah, I'm joining the special. Yeah, I'm into that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to join also the personal Olympics. Maybe we'll post something about that. We'll figure it out for you guys, and we can start that.
Yeah.
That's
Do
cool.
like every person can post, like people start posting their personal Olympic wins.
Yeah,
You know, per day, have like a website or something.
Yeah.
That people can just like gold, silver, people sharing this out.
yeah, it's in there. You know, we'll start to process that.
That's a thought.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put mine and Shmully's contact info on the bottom in the description, so you can feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. You're welcome to subscribe to hear to get the other videos that are coming up every day, posting other stuff, and we want to thank you for joining in this journey. I don't know, and if you watch this, it means that you were meant to watch this, and there's something special, and I want to hear about it. So drop it in the comments, call, whatever. You're welcome. Have an awesome, awesome day.